What's up, guys? Happy trade day. Trade deadline is upon us, and it's an active one. I'm Gun, twitter.com/Gundacker, joined today by Josh, and we are here to hunt, to peruse the PRIZEPICKS NBA player prop lobby, trying to come away with some of the greatest spots to find money, find profit. And while the trade deadline has been pretty active today, there's still some spots to take advantage of, some spots that won't really get impacted, some spots we eyed last night. Let's be honest, we all kind of expected James Harden to never play for the Nets again, so we were already on that game for some big spots. So I'm excited. I'm hoping you guys are excited. And Josh, are you excited? Just an hour left for the Warriors to trade away Steph Curry. I don't know.
I don't know what they get for him right now with the way he's shooting, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, buddy. What's up, Josh? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Last night could have been pretty good. I mean, I went light on it because it was a small slate. But AD decided he was going to take 0 shots in the fourth quarter. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he had 17 points going into the third quarter. He just needed 6 more points, and he took 0 shots, and big reason why they probably lost. So
Yeah, I mean, I Westbrook killed him last night, you know?
hey, the winning percentage is better with Westbrook than without. So
I'm just saying. No, I guess Westbrook's the big name on the marquee right now. Could the Lakers possibly do something? It certainly feels like that whole relationship is soured. But yeah, Lakers losing to the Blazers last night. I had AD in some of my best DFS lineups. I took that 50. I'm more salty that I would have swept every single entry I was in last night on FanDuel. I had Alexei Pokusevski, and then I was like, man, does he even play? They back and forth from the G League. No one played him, but like I was a punk. I was like, I didn't trust whether or not he played, so I swapped to Greg Brown, the backup for Portland. I was like, well, at least I know I'm getting 18 minutes. Of course, Pokusevski drops 40. So if I would have kept him in the original lineup, I would have won almost single entries by 10 to 20 fantasy points, depending on which contest. So, am I salty? No, whatever, bro. But anyway, several games today. If you guys are looking for like trade reaction, stuff like that, check out the DFS show in about an hour. We'll try and revisit all the big stuff. For the most part, though, unless it impacts the games on this PRIZEPICKS slate, I'm gonna leave all the reactions to the other guys until the DFS show. Then I got a little bit more time to chop up. But this show is brought to you by RunDFS.com. If you guys want access to the picks, the projections, the player pool, the spreadsheet, and perhaps most importantly, the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Discord, where we got this PRIZEPICKS and props channel. Go to RunDFS.com, click VIP memberships, and get on in there and join the party. Josh, a couple games tonight. The Pistons were involved in some trades. I wasn't going to personally think that I was going to be very interested in the Pistons against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies, really tough defense, and they've just been smoking teams. I thought the most intriguing spot for me was going to be the Nets and the Wizards game, and then the Raptors, once Fred VanVleet got rolled out against the Rockets. I thought that would also be a spot that we would be interested in. We still got Luka without Kristaps Porzingis. We might get into some Luka assist props, but those are the 3 big ones. And then I know we always like Milwaukee and the Suns whenever we can project them in a close game. So those are my 4 points of interest. Shall we start with the Nets and Wizards? You think that's a good area? All right. So let's start with the Brooklyn Nets side. Life without James Harden begins. Also, they are still without Kevin Durant, and this is a Wizards defense that has regressed pretty mightily versus what they were doing earlier this season. And then, of course, the Wizards are without Bradley Beal. So I definitely think we can move the needle on a bunch of guys on the Wizards side for usage. And then on the Nets side, it starts with Kyrie Irving and Patty Mills, because these are the only two guys on the board today. Without James Harden, without Kevin Durant, we expect Kyrie Irving to do a bulk of the usage, the assist rates, and everything in between. With only Kyrie and Patty Mills on the board, is there anything on the Kyrie side that you are interested in grabbing a hold of? I'm going to run a Kyrie without Harden, without Durant, and I guess for the heck of it, we'll take off Aldridge as well, and see what kind of numbers we get. I'm going to guess it's like 30% usage and 30% assist. We get 32% usage rate, 34% assist rate, with a 1.3 PrizePicks fantasy point per minute production. So 6.5 assists, that seems pretty doggone light. You like that?
Yeah, that was the first one that stood out, and then you can always get it on his 3-point props. What do you have him projected? Let me see fantasy score wise.
For fantasy score, I have Kyrie sitting at 50 fantasy points. And they got him at nothing. I don't have a fantasy projection on him.
Yeah, we have to wait on that one, yeah.
Also at 26.5 points, which I can get behind. But the 6.5 assists seems like a low enough number that I might be looking at that.
I agree with that for sure.
Patty Mills, 14.5 points. Also feels low for a guy that I expect to be second on the team in shot attempts and shot volume. Maybe not something he's blowing out the water, but lately, you look at those last 3 games, Boston was a laugher. Boston's been playing literally elite levels of defense, and he didn't have much help on the court to space. That was a game where there was no Kyrie, no Harden, and they were down like 20-2 in like 5 minutes. Denver, Utah was another laugher. So 14.5 feels like a number I can get behind, especially considering that the Nets are going to be implied for 107 points here. So I don't mind that, but I think that the Kyrie stuff is really interesting. I'm really on the 6.5 assists, but there's a lot of these Kyrie numbers that feel attackable. Even 3.5 free throws feels like something I can get behind. But I think the assists would be my favorite, and then I would probably lean on points. And if they give me a fantasy point prop that's, I guess, 40 or less, I would have to be in on that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure if it's 40 or less.
Yeah. Let's pop over to the Wizards side of the coin. I do have Kyle Kuzma as the poster boy, and I guess it's fair if we flip the on-off court tool, do a little bit of flexing here. I don't know that the Wizards are expected to make any moves right now, so I'm going to expect Kyle Kuzma and Spencer Dinwiddie, who was the subject of a lot of speculation a couple weeks ago, but I don't think there's a market for him, but we'll see in the next hour. But I'm going to put Kyle Kuzma and Spencer Dinwiddie on, take off Bradley Beal. They are still without Daniel Gafford, but in this split of Kuzma, Dinwiddie on, Dinwiddie has a 22% usage rate, a 36.5% assist rate over a PrizePicks fantasy point per minute, while Kuzma's sitting at a 27% usage rate and almost 1.2 PrizePicks fantasy points per minute. Looking at the Kuzma numbers, they have him at 19.5 real points, 35 fantasy points. One thing that we should note about the Nets is that without Kevin Durant on the court, they have been one of the worst defenses in basketball. Of course, that does include the lackadaisical defense of James Harden, so maybe it takes a little step forward, but I'm not projecting it to go aggressively forward. But Kyle Kuzma, I got him around 40 fantasy points. The PrizePicks line is about 35, which is only 5 above his PRA, so I'd probably take a shot on the fantasy points over the PRA today, and then the Dinwiddie line, man. 13.5 real points, Josh. Stop me if you heard this one before. Spencer Dinwiddie in his 3 of his last 4 games has fallen unfortunately short of this 13.5 point line. Prior to that, it was a lock of the century style of bet of what Dinwiddie has put up in the absence of Bradley Beal. We look at Miami, we look at Phoenix, we look at Drew Holiday. There's a couple of good defensive teams there that maybe we could have a cause for I don't know, an excuse, I guess, if you will. But this is a number he hasn't hit in 4 of his last 5. I'm still willing to forget some of the recent struggles and appreciate that at this line against the downgraded defense of the Brooklyn Nets. His shot volume should be high enough, should he still be on the team in an hour, that we might get double-digit shot attempts in this game, stay somewhat competitive. They are slight favorites here, so I'm looking more so for the double-digit shot attempts to get behind this. But I understand why you guys would be a little bit concerned on that. But I do like, personally, some Dinwiddie point prop overs. And then Thomas Bryant has been starting for the Wizards. You guys remember he sat out for a long stretch recovering from an injury. He hasn't been playing deep minutes. 22 looks to be about his ceiling. Daniel Gafford's still down, so I expect Thomas Bryant, Montrezl Harrell to divvy up most of the minutes, and Montrezl Harrell might actually be on the low side of the seesaw there. Anything standing out for you for the Wizards side? I think Kuzma is probably going to be tiered a little bit higher in terms of comfort, but hey, man, I'm a sucker for Dinwiddie. Chat, should I tell him he's muted, or should I just let him keep going? We'll read his face.
I gotta change my hotkey, man. Because when I'm typing it accidentally turns on. I really like Kuzma. I'm with you on that. This is a prime spot for him matchup. I'm debating between his PRA and his fantasy score, but yeah, I guess fantasy score would make sense here since it's so close between the two. I mean, he averages about 2.5 turnovers a game, and the Nets aren't really creating that many turnovers at a high clip, so probably get on the fantasy score. Yeah, I mean, I get it with Dinwiddie with the 13.5 points, a revenge game. I feel most comfortable with Kuzma though, but yeah, I mean, I get it with Dinwiddie.
So here's what I would say with Dinwiddie: if you still if you were soured on his real point prop, I'll tell you what, man, he's still been contributing in other categories, right? The Miami game was a laugher, it was a blowout, what have you. Phoenix is a tough defense, but in Philly, he would have barely hit his prop, but he had a triple double. Like, he was filling in and contributing in other categories. So maybe if you were a little skittish on his real point total, but still appreciate the fact that he is somewhat involved in just about every facet of the game, maybe 28 fantasy points is a little bit low. Obviously, if you imply him for 10 to 15 points, that would be a good baseline, a good table setter for him to exceed 28 fantasy points. And yeah, like we said, they're implied for a little bit more than what they have put up in the last 2 games. I have them barely over that 28 right now, so it's probably something that, maybe if we end up having higher confident picks to stamp on later, Dinwiddie wouldn't be in a bulk of my cards tonight. But I'm a sucker for Dinwiddie in this spot, and it just feels like I'm going to have plenty of tickets with Dinwiddie Kuzma exposure versus Kyrie. In the front court for the Nets, they may have Nick Claxton back. Let's see, he has a Q tag, but let's see, he's questionable. If Claxton can't go, we might get some more Daron Sharp. Last game we saw Blake Griffin start. I think that Blake Griffin... Bing bong! Bing bong.
200
Jesus.
likes on mainstream today, and I come out of retirement, get cruncher, and start MMAing. Penis breath.
Bro, I changed the alert from Let's Go Home to Bing Bong, and I guess I didn't stabilize the sound. That scared the ever loving out of me, bro. It's Bing Bong. Yeah, in my headphone, it came in loud. Yo, damn Ron with the $5. He says if we get 200 likes on the mainstream, he's coming out of retirement. I told Terry Funk, man, he had to come back. Lorenzo, yo, what up, chat? I slacked on the chat, love. What up, Quinn, Mia Moore, Chris, Willie Lewis, Emerson's baby cap shirt, Emerson, and Lorenzo said this is the perfect game for Spencer Dinwiddie to stick to the Nets, especially when they just traded James Harden, the piece that costed him his roster spot. Yeah, maybe.
The narrative.
Yeah, right. Anyway, if Claxton can't go, I don't know. We might get some more Sharp, something like that. But I think the Nets will really, really be heavily contingent offensively on Kyrie Irving and Patty Mills, and then maybe one guy rises and surprises. But yeah, let's move on to. What you got? Did you have something? Oh no, I know your mic was cut off there, but all right, let's move on to another game, bro. I'm still like my heart is pumping from this Bing Bong, man.
Bing bong.
Imran got you.
He did. What up, J. Cole? What up, Earth to Air? What up, Austin? Toronto Raptors at the Houston Rockets. So we got no Fred VanVleet, and we know that the Raptors play egregious amount of minutes. So let's talk what I think will probably be our favorite team to attack for props and probably for DFS tonight, the Toronto Raptors. So remember that stretch of 30 real points a game that Gary Trent was on? Well, a couple of those games came in the absence of Fred VanVleet. So we might expect Gary Trent to pick up, maybe curtain call some of those games. And then we also know that Siakam benefits in the absence of Fred VanVleet. VanVleet represents essentially 40 minutes of point guard responsibility. So when we put Trent and Siakam on, take off VanVleet, we're getting about a 26% usage rate on Siakam, over a fantasy point per minute. And Gary Trent's at a 26% usage rate, about 9/10 of a fantasy point per minute. But it doesn't matter when you're playing 40 minutes, and it's the Houston Rockets. Rockets play at a league best pace and almost a league worst defense, so they create a lot of opportunities for opponents to come in and go bananas. We've got Siakam set up here on a bunch of props that I think are extremely attackable. First of all, we go back to the assist rates. Siakam has a 24.5% assist rate, which would lead the team sans maybe Scotty Barnes in the sample size we have without VanVleet. So 6.5 assists certainly feels like against the Rockets it's very viable. They got him at 48.5 fantasy points. That's going to be about 9 higher than his PRA. I think that's a good projection from a real life standpoint because I have him at 54. But when we get to those numbers, I tend to not want to sweat high numbers in a parlay setting. So I tend to look for more attackable numbers. What are your favorite Raptors lines here? I think Siakam and Gary Trent were the two guys I'd be most intrigued with. Gary Trent's at 33 fantasy points with 21.5 real points as his number. I've got him at 41 fantasy points. So I got a 10-point gap if you trust me over PrizePicks. What's standing out to you on the Raptors side?
Yeah, so I'm definitely with you on Pascal and Gary as the top two. Gary Trent's probably one of my favorite top plays because his fantasy score. So they're not going to give us the steal block, I feel like, because it's just it's too easy, and they took off his 3-point prop. But the fantasy score will encompass all of that, right? So Gary Trent is actually tied for third right now in the league for steals per game. Ooh. He's just behind Chris Paul and DeJounte Murray. He's just racking up the steals, and we know the Rockets, right? It's the Rockets. Like, they're going to turn it over. They're going to give you the ball. So fantasy, that's why I want to get on the fantasy score so I can get those blocks or steals incorporated. And just like all the points he's just going to score, right? So I just feel like 33 is too low in this matchup. And then on top of that, I could get on some OG 5.5 rebounds. He's been doing really well in the glass, and this is a great spot for him to pick up even more boards. So probably those three I like the most.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And to double down on the Gary Trent steals per game, blocks per game, like you said, Houston Rockets allow the most of all of that per game. It's incredible the sloppiness that they play with. I was wondering to see if they would move like a Christian Wood or somebody like that. So far, no news. But they're allowing a league worst 9.7 steals per game. That's a whole steal per game higher than the Cavaliers. And when it comes to blocks per game, they allow the third most. So plenty of plus threes to be implied there for a guy like Gary Trent, like you said, averaging almost 2 steals per game. That's 6 points off the rip, and if we can get an extra steal or block because of the matchup, yeah, I think plenty of Gary Trent numbers are too low. It feels like fantasy score would probably be the best, especially considering how large of a gap there is between mine and theirs. Looking at the live chat, what up, Jermaine? Lorenzo says smashing Gary Trent Jr. PRA until it's 28. I like the PRA obviously, but I think the fantasy score like Josh was saying, because of steals, right? If you expect 2 steals, that's +6 right off the rip, unless you are that fearful of like 5-6 turnovers. I think Gary Trent's fantasy point is a great way to throw a blanket over everything we might expect from him in 40 minutes against the Rockets. That line is just unbelievably low. Montrezl Harrell to the Hornets.
He had 5 steals last night against OKC, I believe. So,
bro, so Kyle Kuzma is gonna have to play up center, like, right? Like, get on those Kuzma. Like, if Montrezl Harrell just got traded to the Charlotte Hornets, Thomas Bryant can't play 35 minutes. He's barely playing 22.
They're still on the board. You jump on it.
I probably like that Kuzma rebound prop. Remember, he was getting 16, 20 rebounds in some spots earlier. I guess Rui Hachimura would have to play some center too. But Kyle Kuzma could really benefit here.
Would that make you jump on his rebound prop more or his PRA?
I'd probably get PRA just because I expect him to score a lot of real points too.
Yeah.
Also, Aaron Holiday traded to the Suns. Dinwiddie real points, baby. Dinwiddie real points. Let's go. All right, so they got the for sale sign up. Let's see if there's more. Let's see if they moved Dinwiddie, I guess. But I don't know that Dinwiddie is. I don't know. He wanted his contract in Bitcoin, right? Maybe he's worth less now. Tries to the Hornets, Aaron Holiday to Phoenix, yeah. So I guess that helps beautiful. So I would imagine that they pull off some of these Wizards lines here in a minute, but also, Montrezl Harrell in their eyes was just a backup bench. They didn't have him on the board to begin with, and no one was betting Aaron Holiday props as it was. So, but what is there they go. They just yanked it in front of my face. Okay.
All right. I was trying to get it in.
Damron's gonna clip that. They just yanked it in front of my face. I don't know. So let's see if those lines move. But I'm still pretty bullish on Dinwiddie and Kuzma specifically. But yeah, pretty significant news there. So let's move it on to Mavericks hosting the Clippers. Luka Doncic, another game without Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway Jr. So we'll pull on the on-off court tool for Dallas. The Wizards are getting Ish Smith back. Man, Ish Smith, he's been around the league, but second cup of coffee, third cup of coffee, I don't know.
He's that broke the record, I think, right? Or the most teams by an NBA player. I know he was close to the record.
He was on the Wizards before, wasn't he? Or am I tripping?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was seeing if he was going to get traded to a new team because then he would have broke the record.
Yeah. Porzingis and Hardaway broke the record. Who has the record?
I forget who he's tied with.
It's probably, I don't know. There's a couple of journeymen out there. So Luka on the court without Porzingis and Hardaway, a 50% assist rate, 39% usage rate, 1.6 PrizePicks fantasy points per minute. So immediately, when I think about what could be the lowest line for Luka here, assists. The guy's averaging a friggin' triple-double, essentially, without Porzingis. So I think assist rate, having a 50% assist rate is nuts. 9.5, still probably too low here. 11, 15. So I do like the Luka assist rate. And then for fantasy points, they have him at 56. He's been clearing 60, 70 in games that stay competitive. And that's about what I got. I got him at 59. I think assist rate would be my favorite spot to attack Luka. And then if I had to pair it with something, maybe a Jalen Brunson real point, something like that. But I think Luka assist is my favorite. Do you have a strong lean on anything offered for the Mavericks?
That's been my strong lean for the last 2 weeks. That slot machine's just been hitting every time. So I'm just gonna keep pulling it until it runs dry.
Yeah.
Or increases. I mean they've been keeping it at 9.5 forever now. So
yeah, and it wouldn't stun me if if the field bets it up to 10 and a half by the time lock comes. So
I was thinking the same thing for sure.
Clippers, they've added Norman Powell into their lineup. Also wondering if they would still have some moves in the next hour. They kind of remind me of like the Atlanta Braves, where they have every right to blow it up and rebuild here, but it looks like they're not. So adding Norman Powell into the mix, kind of treading water out there in the West. Norman Powell has been pretty aggressive for them offensively. I think this is still a spot where I would like, as a data scientist, to get more sample size and let that develop. So I didn't have any Clippers lines. Did you have anything on the Clippers?
Well, so Ibaka's gone, right? So
yeah, they traded him to Toronto or Milwaukee. Milwaukee, yeah. So
does that just change Hartenstein's minutes then?
Yeah, Hartenstein should be the straight up backup center. I don't see there's not a line on Hartenstein, right?
No, I'm just wondering for Zubac. So it's not going to change Zubac's minutes. It's just going to change as Hartenstein is the backup now, right?
Yes, but looking at the Memphis game, Ibaka didn't play, and Hartenstein was the immediate backup. So I guess the writing was on the wall. And yeah, Hartenstein was the straight up backup big. Zubac got in early foul trouble, so I mean, at best it's a split here. I guess looking at the game prior, Ibaka played 18 minutes, so maybe there's a couple extra minutes to go his way because it was Ibaka and Hartenstein here and there, sometimes alongside each other. Are you trying to get into a Zubac line? Maybe the Zubac stuff's still a little light. I got him for 28 fantasy points right now, and they got him for freaking 19. So that's
that's what I was looking at, was the 19 or the 6.5 rebounds. Because the Mavs have been getting killed on the glass lately, especially when Marquise Chris is playing. So yeah, I was considering it, especially if it gets a slight minute boost, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, maybe it helps a little bit. Mavs did have a game or two without Kleber, and then he came back. But then he came back off the bench. But if DFS and Dwight Powell are in the front court as starters, I think that bodes well for Zubac. But I would anticipate Kleber sooner or later getting back into that starting lineup. But I guess we'll see. All right. Where do we go from here? The Bucks Phoenix games. I feel like that's the main course. Any other spots before we get into Bucks and Phoenix?
Yeah. What about I guess we could do the Memphis Detroit game. If there's some interesting props there. I know it could be a blowout, but I like to look at the first half props there too.
All right. So you want to look at the Memphis side first half?
Yeah.
All right, bet. So I'm going to go NBA. There we go. Memphis. So they get Vernon Carey Smith for Montrezl Harrell, by the way. So first half props for Memphis. Ja Morant, 13.5 real points, 22.5 fantasy points. Desmond Bane, 8.5 real points. Steven Adams, 3 points and 12.5 fantasy score. Memphis were... Did Memphis make a move today? I don't think it was significant if they did. What do you like here? Memphis is, I guess, Ja Morant. So long as Dylan Brooks isn't on the court, we expect this guy to take 20, 30 shots, score a lot of 30 real points. In a couple of these games, he's done 30 real points in 3 quarters. So you chop that in half. We expect 15 in the first half. In the last couple of first half, 16, 22, 15. There's 12 against Philly. Some of that Matisse Thybulle defense. Washington, 18. So 13.5 real points for Ja Morant in the first half might be something we look at. What is that? What you were leaning on?
Yeah, I like that. And then if you don't do first half, I could get on Jaren Jackson's rebound or Steven Adams' rebound props, because we know Detroit. Attack them on the glass. I know Isaiah Stewart's rebound props have been coming through lately, but this is a really bad matchup for rebounds, so I'd be more hesitant on that. But he has been crushing his rebound prop lately. So
yeah, and bag alert, Marvin Bagley's on the way. Bagley's on the way. He might have to show up and show out. But yeah, I got a lot of respect for the Memphis defense. But all right, cool. Alex, what up? Alex says, if you guys had to pick 2 of your favorite props today, what would you choose? So I'll wait for the Wizards stuff to get back up. But I'm thinking I think Kuzma anything at this point. If his PRA is low enough, and if it's rebound prop, if his rebounds are under 10, I probably am a buyer now that they moved Montrezl Harrell. And I was already kind of privy to Spencer Dinwiddie real points. Yes, I know. Kyrie assist at 6.5. I think we would get behind. And then I don't know. What's your favorite prop? Have we anything Raptors? Gary Trent, fantasy points, and probably see. I don't know if Siakam would be like a favorite too in terms of confidence, but
I'd say mid tier. Yes.
Yeah.
2 tier.
Gary Trent fantasy points feels like number 1.
Yeah. And then pair that with Luka assist, and then some exposure to this Bucks Suns game, which we're gonna go over.
Oh wow. Babe, can you answer? Actually, can you handle that? Just ask them what they have in mind and be nice about it.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to the main event. Before we do that, take a pause for the cause. Remind you guys that the party don't stop after this stream, man. The grind is going to be real. I will be live for the next hour. The next 2 hours, talking this slate again over and over and over. And after that, we still got time before the main slate locks and the dust settles on these trades. So if you guys want to keep the conversation going, get part of the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Discord, and we'll be in that voice chat leading up to lock. And then, of course, you guys can get this spreadsheet. You can get the player projections, the prop tab, which is a good companion piece to PrizePicks, and then of course the prop detector, which Josh, who is, I promise you, the smartest man Mr. Neuroscientist, that still blows my mind. Anyway. You guys can track all that. Go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships, get yourself signed up. So while a lot of it is DFS centric, the transition to prop hunting has been super, super natural and super profitable. And I like what's on the board tonight. So we'll take care of that. Dinwiddie traded. I was thinking that Dinwiddie traded to the Mavs.
What?
Who the heck plays point guard tonight for? Okay. So that makes me like everything Kuzma even more. But no Holiday. Raul Neto is gonna be point guard today, I guess. Oh,
he'll be the chalk.
We gotta play Neto in DFS.
Yeah.
Neto.
What about KCP? I mean, is that gonna boost all his props?
I mean, it probably puts everything else up a little bit. Let's see, Washington. What a weird. So Neto, Corey Kispert, KCP. Yeah, I think Kuzma's gonna really, really get juiced up and everything, but they still might not compensate according. Also, the Wizards were 3-point favorites and have since traded Montrezl Harrell and Spencer Dinwiddie. I would probably start tilting the seesaw here. So either we're getting a career game out of Kyle Kuzma, and they traded Aaron Holiday. So like the Wizards will probably flip that. We might see 6, 7, 8 points line movement when that's all said and done. So
what would be your cutoff for Kuzma fantasy? What would be a line where you're like, I can't get on that, or it's too risky?
Probably 40 fantasy points would probably be the. If it's under 40 fantasy points, I think he can clear it.
Okay.
And if it's under 10 rebounds, I'd probably take the over.
I'm with you on that. I agree. Wow, so Porzingis is going to the Wizards, huh? Dallas was just done with them.
Yeah. That's big.
That is big. Yeah. Especially for their defense, right? And like they were playing so well as a unit with him.
See, I thought the Wizards were just straight up selling here, but getting Porzingis back for Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, I would do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the way he's been playing lately.
And Kuzma, maybe Kuzma can play some more 3, or Porzingis can just play the 5 and have Bryant as his back. That's crazy. Oh well, we'll see if there's more Dallas moves. Where are we at? We are at 20 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be wild. That's crazy. Oh man, there's other stuff saying.
You called it though. You jinxed it. You're like, watch Dinwiddie get traded. And there you go.
Yeah, he was part of a lot of the. Jesus H. Okay, so okay. Well, I don't think the Raptors are trading anybody, so I like where we're at on them. And then let's get into the main event.
Suns and Bucks aren't trading, right? We're good on that.
Is Giannis safe? Bucks at the Suns, 233 total, 3-point spread. So last game on the docket, dust should settle, and we expect Mosey's team to look pretty similar to what we have today. Bucks were buyers, obviously, and the Suns have been really good as is. Not really sure that they could. They have one specific position they could add to, so everything else would just be like maybe veteran depth. So I'm not too concerned about movement in this game. And it's rare that we get the Bucks in a game that's projected to stay close. Even rarer that we get the Bucks where they're underdogs here. But here we go, road dog Milwaukee Bucks. So if we get 4 quarters of high minute action from Giannis Antetokounmpo, we get amongst the best fantasy per minute production that there is. And then if we get big quarters out of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, 8 to an extent, but big minutes out of Devin Booker and Chris Paul, we can probably expect some really high fantasy scores. Cameron Payne still listed as out here, and in the absence of Cameron Payne, we haven't seen more Elfrid Payton. We've just seen more Chris Paul. Where do we start with the Bucks Suns? I guess we'll pull up the Bucks side of the board here. Bucks listing Giannis with 47.5 PRA, 55 fantasy points. I've got Giannis at 59, so I'm a little bit on the over. But again, we start getting to 50, 60 fantasy points. I don't like putting those in a parlay setting. But did you have something that stood out to you on the Bucks side?
Yeah, I mean, so we got the finals rematch and the primetime TNT game. I expect this to be like a heavyweight match here, back and forth. With that said, I can get on Giannis 29.5 point. I feel like he's going to carry the team. And it's Bobby Porter's birthday today. If you want to jump on that, and he likes to play with motivation that gets him going. So maybe if you want to get on his 14.5 point, but Suns are never fun to pick on in the paint, right? So, I would probably say Giannis, and then maybe some Drew Holiday. The Suns are actually allowing third most points to point guards. But yeah, I'd probably feel the most comfortable with Giannis points. And now with Dante being gone, shipped out, does that make any significant boost for these secondary guys like Grayson Allen?
Yeah, so DiVincenzo, last couple games, 21 minutes. Let's see, DiVincenzo, the game prior, 19. So I would say between 18 and 22 minutes removed now. I guess that's a great flashback there. DiVincenzo did get traded away. Grayson Allen's listed as questionable. George Hill out. So if Grayson Allen didn't play, we might see really big minutes for Pat Connaughton. I guess Wesley Matthews would be there in spirit, but I guess Pat Connaughton would probably be the most intriguing option to me. Yeah. And then maybe some extra run here for Grayson Allen. 17.5 fantasy points, whatever. If I was probably, I don't know, I might be looking at points. I will say, looking at the live chat, Cameron McCarrier says Bobby Portis 1.5 threes.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
He didn't have that last night. I was waiting to see if they're going to post it, because he's been chucking it from the 3-point line. He's just been letting it rip. So
yeah, I don't mind that. But yeah, I would probably say Connaughton seems like the main beneficiary, especially if Grayson for whatever reason can't go. Let me double check his status. He's probable. Okay, so yeah. maybe they stretch him a little bit more. All right, let's flip the coin here and go to the Suns. I think when we talk about the Suns and we talk about Bucks defense, it's basically gospel now for me to mention that the Milwaukee Bucks allow a bottom four amount of points in the paint, and they funnel points via the three ball. They allow the most points in the league via the three ball, tied with the Charlotte Hornets. Sounds like Devin Booker to me. Hiccup. Devin Booker's listed at 28.5 real points. That's hard to get behind. They didn't give us a 3-point prop. Maybe the fantasy score is intriguing. I've got Devin Booker for 49. They have him for 42. So there's a little bit of leeway there. 7 points. 28.5 points. That seems aggressive, but if this game's going to live up to this total, 233, and we get more points from Booker than we do from Ayton, it's still attackable. He's cleared that in 4 of his last 5. We know he leads the team in usage when Paul, Ayton, and him are on the court. Uncomfortable, but viable. Do you have any favorite props here? I would think Devin Booker, either real points, 3-point, and then Chris Paul assist. If they're going to get all the minutes out of Chris Paul, his assist rate is going to be 30-40%. Yeah. So it correlates well if you put him with a Booker. What stands out to you on the Suns side?
Yeah, so my favorite pairing and plays would be Devin Booker 20.5 points, and then just pair it with Chris Paul's 11 assists. And Chris Paul is obviously leading the league right now in assists, but it's crazy how much he's leading it by. So he's the next closest person to him is Harden, and he still has like 100 more assists than him. I think it's like 450 versus like 350 or something like that. It's crazy like how much he's leading by. And when these games stay close and Chris Paul plays his 40 minutes, he usually easily clears that 11 assists. So I know you could get on his Chris Paul's points too, but I think I feel most comfortable with his assist. And then Mikal Bridges' PRA has just been coming through for us. Yes. I expect him to play 40 minutes in a competitive game. How many minutes he played in that Philly game? Because that stayed somewhat competitive to the end.
He went back to 40. Yeah, a lot of competitive games where he's clearing 40 minutes.
So 21 and a half, it's not really – it's been staying around 21, 20, and it hasn't really moved.
Yeah. He cleared that with points last game. I mean, you think at this pace, the uptick in pace, the more implied possessions, and the fact that he'll chuck some threes himself, 4-7, 4-7, 3-point attempts the last couple games. They're going to have to get to the perimeter a little bit more. So for the minutes and the implied possessions, I think Mikal Bridges 21.5 remains really, really too low. And this Washington game was a game that was over at half essentially, and he only played 26 minutes. Otherwise, I think he would have smoked it that game too. So I don't know if there's a glitch in the matrix where they can't get him over 21.5. But 21.5 has probably been one of my favorite lines every time the Suns are on the slate. So I'm with you on Bridges.
Hey, Jalen Smith being shipped out, does that change anything? Or he wasn't really playing that much anyway.
He was more so, he was DNPing more when Biyombo and JaVale McGee were in. He was really just involved in those few games where either Biyombo, McGee, Ayton, 2 or 3 of those guys were out, and when all 3 were out, that's when he introduced himself. But he's not a significant impact on this rotation.
Yep.
All right, so that's our slate. I have to fix some stuff in the spreadsheet. I'll be live again in about 10-15 minutes, revisiting the slate, probably talking a little bit more about the trades at the top of the show, the deadline in a couple minutes. We'll see if we got one buzzer beater. Russell Westbrook still out there. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But other than that, man, it should be a fun night to grind. I love trade day in the NBA. Josh, any hot takes before we get out of here? We didn't mention the Warriors. Klay Thompson rested last night. Warriors got a little bit of that humble pie. Do we get Klay Thompson 3-point props tonight?
Yeah, it's a home game. I can always get on that. That and they rested their starters pretty early. They waved the white flag really early because the back-to-back. So yeah, that would be it for me on the Warriors.
Klay Thompson 2.5 threes, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Always in play at home.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this show. I appreciate you guys as always. Booker points or Paul assists? Probably Paul assists for me.
Or you can pair them.
You could pair them. It would be well correlated, but if you're just uncomfortable with that high of a real point total. Hey, I'll be talking more PrizePicks stuff in the next 2 hours as the dust settles and PrizePicks starts putting some numbers back up. So that's going to do it for us, man. I appreciate you guys. If you guys wouldn't mind, hit that thumbs up on your way out the door. And we'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, talking over the Friday night board of the NBA slate for the league. But the grind has just begun. So much basketball research to be done in the next 4 hours, man. I appreciate you guys as always. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.